What up? It's your boy, Nick Incredible Man. Yes, I'm back at it again. And I just watched My Hero Academia Season 4, Episode 4, aka Episode 67 overall. And, dude, it was good. Like I keep telling you guys when I do my reviews, I read the manga to a certain point. And then I stopped reading the manga because I wanted to enjoy it fully in the show. So I stopped at a certain point, and for all my manga readers, at a really high pressured point, that's when I stopped it, and I was like, I didn't really want to continue anymore. I really wanted to be surprised more so in the anime. And after the anime catches up to that part, that's where I'm going to pick back up and start reading the manga again. But yeah, but this episode, there wasn't too much going on in this episode. It was an emotional episode all the way around. There was a few moments with the whole class, with Ida and Bakugo and Todoroki and everyone looking at their face because they were beaten up in the license exam and stuff. So there was the comedic moments that happened. They were very minor, but they happened, and everything else was emotional, man. And it was like real emotional. And even the parts I knew, because I read the manga, I knew how all of this was going to play out, but watching it being animated and listening to the voice actors do such a fantastic job, it was fantastic, and I found myself being overwhelmed, and it got very emotional for me as well, man. It was just a wonderful episode, and I love a good episode like this, man. Like, the story progressed a little bit, not a lot, but it progressed a little bit, and just watching everything unfold with Deku pouring out his heart to All Might telling Deku the real original backstory, and us even having a face-to-face with Overhaul. It was just so emotional, and it was very, very well done, and it even brought me back to reading that part in the manga, and I felt everything because the voice actors and the score that was playing throughout this whole episode was absolutely phenomenal, man. So let's get right to the episode. Yeah, this episode picked up right after, not last week because they took a break, but the week before, and we get thrown into everything, and we see Deku and Lumillion going out in their own patrol, and they're just having a wonderful time. And now I'm gonna share my thoughts. Like, reading the manga, I knew that what this scene was gonna happen, and Deku wasn't gonna have on his mask, and Lumillion was gonna have to cover his face for him. But does that also irk anyone else? Like, when Deku does that, I mean, you built this mask part onto, you had your mom build this mask part onto the costume, and the other extra people from the school work on it and build on it and even keep the mask. So why aren't you wearing the mask? He never wears the mask. He wore the mask, maybe, don't quote me. I mean, you know, don't hold me to it. But if my memory serves, he wore the mask a total maybe 4 to 5 times tops. If you're not going to wear the mask, find a different way to conceal your identity. You're a hero. Unless, you know, you're going to be one of those heroes like All Might, where, you know, like, you're not going to hide your identity, and that's fine. Or Sir Nighteye. But if you have a mask and you're wanting to conceal your, or Todoroki, it doesn't conceal his identity either. But you get what I'm saying. If you want to conceal your identity and you have a mask built onto your costume, wear the mask. He never wears the mask, and that annoys me to no end. But then in this episode, Deku pissed me off, man. Like, because, like, reading in the manga, I knew this scene was going to take place and unfold. But at the same time, just seeing it animated and going through it again, it felt like, oh, dude. Like, I know, like, he's a hero and learning at the same time. But some of this stuff, he's such a fan of heroes and All Might and other heroes. Some of this, they shouldn't have to teach and tell him when he's a hero himself. They have to tell him so much, even though he's a mega fan of heroes and All Might, and the stuff that he does, like, they have to constantly telling him. It's so crazy. That's one thing that annoys me to no end. And when he was holding on to Eri, and he pretty much gave away that they were looking into Overhaul, and but, like, Lumillion played it off and covered it up real smooth. That was nice. You got to give Lumillion 100% credit, man. That was absolutely fantastic. for him to cover it up the way that he did. And then he's like, he never told him that what agency. He was like, what agency are you guys working with? And he was like, oh, well, we're working at a bunch of different agencies, just testing out the waters to see how we're going to do. Well, we got to go back on patrol. So it was nice to see Lumelian play it off that part, so he wouldn't be too suspicious, because Deku just kept. I know he wants to save everyone, and you can't beat All Might, and that's the thing. And I'm hoping that he kind of realized that in the back half of this episode, after everything was explained and All Might told him about everything. You can't be All Might. You can imitate All Might, you can try to be All Might and everything, and you can imitate his moves and everything, but you can't be him. You need to be your own hero. You need to be Deku. Don't try to be All Might. And that's one of the things that Nighteye is also trying to hammer down to him. So then we have Overhaul showing his killing intense, and we saw that he was going to take off his glove, but Aries saw, and she kind of saved Deku and Lumelian. And then they leave and they tell Bubble and Nighteye about the incident. Then we have Nighteye telling them, well, that's it. You guys are done for the day, and Deku gave him more information that, that he has a daughter. And manga readers, we know, but that he has a daughter and we have to save Eri-chan. And Nighteye made a very valid point to me, and that was, haste makes waste. Don't oversell yourself when you're not ready to take on that role. And he was like, because we have other heroes that's going to come in, because we need help with this situation, because there's a lot going on. And then, with Night-Eye's quirk, he can see into the future. So there's a lot of stuff taking place at behind the scenes and everything. So we kind of got to time it just right and be perfect when we execute this plan. And they even kind of touch on Overhaul's quirk because of the other bank robbers and stuff. But like they really didn't have anything to verify it, and there was no witnesses, and the guys couldn't remember. But we know how Overhaul quirk works. And spoiler if you don't know how his quirk works, I'm sorry. On one hand, he can dismantle and smash and dissipate anything. On the other hand, he can bring it back, but fully healed. And that's how, when Nighteye stated the comment that these guys, they had cavities and arthritis and everything that they had prior to them not being passed out, is completely gone. So his quirk can like dismantle and take away everything, even like just like kill someone. But with his other hand, he can also bring them back and fully restored without any injuries or anything, even prior injuries. So that his quirk is really, really cool. So then we jump and we see Deku struggling in class and everything, because he can't really wrap his head around not saving Eri and finding out that Togato was supposed to inherit One for All, and Nighteye still doesn't want him to have it. And so he gets there, he finds All Might, he's talking to All Might, and All Might breaks down and goes into like a full drawn out thing. And we even get a flashback of All Might after he suffered that horrendous injury to his lungs and everything, and his abdomen and everything. And we see him really struggling and breaking down, and him and Nighteye getting into a fight, and they're resolving their partnership and everything. And we understand why Nighteye felt that way, and we understand why All Might felt that way. But I kind of wish he would have listened to Nighteye. But then we have, after that happened, we have Deku listening and hearing everything and finding out that All Might is going to die either this year or next year. And that weighs heavy on him. That's why I was like, this whole episode was very emotional. It was so emotional, and the score and the voice actors, it was fantastic, man. And then he's kind of letting that sink in, and then he chases after All Might once again to ask him, well, All Might, is there a possibility we could change the future or anything? And they're going into like a whole detail and everything. And All Might was like, I've pretty much accepted it, but for you, young Midoriya, I can tough it out. And listening to your mother and you mentioning everything when I was fighting One for All and everything. So All Might really broke down this episode. We saw a very different side of All Might this episode. We knew that he was always the cheerful guy, and he always kept a serious face, or when he was angry, but we saw a very vulnerable and emotional All Might this episode, and I really enjoyed it. And I love the fact that him and Deku, like, they had a relationship, but their relationship is so much more now, and it's so closer now because Deku knows the whole truth. And and then at the end he was like, well, maybe you can get with Sir Nighteye and team back up and get him to look at your future again and see how that goes. And it ended on such a high note, and it made me feel so triumphant because I was pissed at Deku like the first half of this episode because of his stupidity. But at the same time, I mean, I understand it because he's still a hero in training. But at the end, I felt the anger with him at All Might, and I felt the triumphant return of his joy and happiness again at the end of everything. So this was a very well done episode, and I enjoyed it, man. It was phenomenal to me. I really enjoyed it, and the score and the voice actors, you got to give them a round of applause. And that's how it ended, man. But I'm super excited for next week because, like I keep saying, I read the manga to a certain point, so I know what's coming. But seeing it animated, especially this episode and what's to come, it's really hitting home, and I love it. And this is your boy Dick Incredible. Don't forget to smash that like button till you can't smash it anymore. Comment down below, and I'll be sure to respond to each and every one of them. And subscribe, but only if you really want to, man. And remember that anime matters, anime is greatness, and anime is life, man. Peace out.